I'm Mike Quackenbush. We're inside the Wrestle Factory, just minutes outside of Allentown, Pennsylvania, and this is Till We Make It. And on this field trip edition of Till We Make It, we've got some ring maintenance to do. I've got to take one of the ropes and the corners apart, and you're coming along for the ride. The reason we've got to do this maintenance is because several of our turnbuckles have become stripped. They can't be tightened anymore, and this affects our ability to create tension in the ropes. So we needed to buy a bunch of new turnbuckles, which is exactly what I have. A lot of people think of the turnbuckle pad or the turnbuckle cover as the turnbuckle, but that's not exactly right. This is the turnbuckle. This piece of hardware is the turnbuckle. And for most wrestling rings, you need a turnbuckle that's got the hook on one side and this eyelet over here on the other side. Did I grab it? I did a good job. You need the eyelet, right? This is what the rope, or whatever you're using as rope, in most modern rings, it's not rope at all. It's 1/4-inch steel airline cable. But that's what passes through here. And as you can probably see on the corner post right behind me, it's this hook, which is how it attaches, right? There's like a piece of horseshoe-shaped metal that's welded onto the corner post, and this hook, it just hooks right onto the ring post here. And then this eyelet is what is actually inside the turnbuckle pad. So as I take one of the corners apart, that's what I want you to see. We're going to open that up, and you can see what's actually inside when the turnbuckle pad or turnbuckle cover is removed. So I've got one of the ropes down off of the ring. Here you can see the turnbuckle sticking out the back, right, with the hook end that attaches it to the corner post. And the turnbuckle pad, the turnbuckle cover itself, is still on. Now I know this is one of my corners where there's no additional padding inside. So once we take off this heavy vinyl turnbuckle pad, you'll see everything that is underneath exposed. Maybe I'll be able to find an example while I'm here of what I call the pad taco, which increases the lifespan of your turnbuckle pad. So these are made out of a very durable vinyl. Nevertheless, if they're exposed to the metal of the turnbuckle all the time, they're going to get punctured, and then they're going to tear, and then you have to replace them. And these things, they're not cheap. You got to put 12 on your ring. Usually you have to buy them in an order of 12. You can't just buy one. So even if one of them gets ripped, get ready to buy 12 brand new ones. There is a way to extend the life of your turnbuckle pad, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, we got to get this thing off. So it's just attached by plastic zip ties. That's my preference to use. You run them through these grommets on the top and bottom. You pull it tight, you snip off the end, you're good to go. Just make sure it isn't a sharp end when you snip it. That way nobody accidentally gets little cuts on them while they're working in the ring. In a pinch, if you don't have zip ties, could you improvise something? You could use twine. In a real pinch, I've seen somebody use a shoelace and they just tied it really tight. Yeah, you absolutely could. But for long-term use, I think you want a zip tie. It's gonna keep this thing on. They never get slack in them. It's a really good option, but we got to cut these off quick. So for us to get inside, I got to cut these zip ties off. 1, 2, 3. Oh, this one's gonna be tough. Got to get in there. 4. All right. So the turnbuckle pad has been cut open. Let's take a look at what's inside. Can we see this good on camera? We get one shot at this. Okay, so here's what's on the inside, right? Here is that eyelet end that I had talked about when I showed you the brand new turnbuckles that we just got in to replace these strip boys. And you can see here inside is the guts. This is the turnbuckle pad, is the guts of the rope itself. So no doubt you're gonna notice this is just blue electrical taping. We do that to give it color. And of course you can make your ring ropes whatever color you want if you're using this method, because underneath this blue electrical tape is just black garden hose you can get from any hardware store. So here in North America, go to a Lowe's or a Home Depot. I'm not sure whether or not those brands extend overseas or not, but a basic hardware store where you can get garden hose, that's all this is. It's thick rubber garden hose. And then inside the garden hose here is that 1/4-inch steel airline cable that I was talking about. That is what's inside. So the hose provides you with a layer of protection from that. The electrical tape, color. That's it. And then you just string it through all 4 of the eyelets and your ropes are ready to go. There really is, on most rings, nothing more than this inside the corner once you cut the turnbuckle pad off. But as I pointed out earlier, there's a way to extend the life of your turnbuckle pads. So let's see, can I reach this while still looking? Oh, I did it. Great. So let's take a look. Yes, here it is. So there's a rip in the turnbuckle pad cover. You know what I'm saying. There is a rip in my turnbuckle pad. So you can probably see it right there, right? So this is just from being folded up over on top of itself, and no doubt from being exposed to all of this hardware that's underneath, right? So we're in here 4 nights a week. We're doing live events, we're training, we're having practice matches. The ropes and turnbuckles, they take a lot of abuse. And over time, those punctures can be way worse on a vinyl turnbuckle pad or cover. So I'm gonna go digging and see if I can find one of my corners where I have put the pad taco, and I'll explain that to you in a second. Not a Thai dish. If you're learning something from today's video, would you take a second right now, please? Give me one tap of your finger and leave a like-a-palooza down below. Thanks for doing that. It really does help the channel to keep on growing. Okay, so I was able to find one of the corners where I had made a foam taco to add a layer of protection to my turnbuckle pad. So what this is here is just a piece of foam matting. It's from a mat that used to be on the ring, and it got so beat up we decided to retire it, but we cut it up into smaller chunks just in case we ever needed it for something random, like making the good old foam taco that goes in the corner. So we cut out some jagged piece, threw some duct tape around it, and this just goes over the eyelet end where the cable is passing through the turnbuckle to add a layer of protection so that the vinyl turnbuckle pad itself is never directly up against the metal of the turnbuckle while we practice, while we perform. And just sparing it this additional abuse that it takes, it really does extend the life of your turnbuckle pads. There's a reason why these still look show ready after 7 years, which is about double what most organizations get out of their turnbuckle pads. This little extra bit of TLC, it goes a long way. And this does not need to look pretty. In fact, it doesn't if you're having a look. It's quite hideous. It doesn't matter though, right? Because it's concealed from view. Once I close the turnbuckle pad back up and I put the zip ties on, nobody can see it. It just disappears inside the turnbuckle and does what it's supposed to do. Extend the life of this vinyl pad that we paid good money for. Appearing on screen right now is a playlist I have compiled for you about all things relating to a pro wrestling ring. Also appearing on screen is a link to my Patreon. Please help me to keep this a weekly channel here on YouTube. I need 100 patrons before the year is out to meet my goal. Thanks.